If you want to actually become successful with YouTube or just in business in general, or extremely successful at anything in life, you do have to genuinely become a new person. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to become a new person and not just explain it to you in different platitudes that you've heard online before. I'm going to explain this to you in a way that literally no one else has ever explained it to you. And I'm going to go so in depth on it that I know for a fact that all the low IQ individuals, the people who are not actually looking to change, are going to click off of this video. And I'm totally fine with that. You know, if you're not able to stick through this and really hear me out, you can leave. You know, it's going to be okay. This one's going to get a little bit weirder than normal videos. I'm experimenting with something now where I've avoided talking about topics this in depth because I wanted to kind of keep it surface level. I understand that most people out there who are just getting started with business and self-improvement, they don't really have this depth of knowledge where they think what I'm going to talk about in this video is extremely woo-woo and out there and it doesn't really work. I'm going into the fabric of the universe that we exist in to show you how to become a new person and how to become the person that is capable of being a successful YouTuber or being a successful business owner, whatever. I say this all the time. It's not about all the other stuff you can ignore. Focus on becoming the person capable. Well, I'm going to show you exactly how to be the person capable in this video. And I know this is going to be really strange for me to bring up, but we do have to go watch a clip from Joe Rogan, not this clip right here. Right here. We got to go watch a clip from Joe Rogan. Just give me 5 minutes and you'll understand everything that we're watching in this video. Just stick it out. If you have the decent enough level of attention span to stick this out, it's going to change your life.
Slit experiment. Right.
On the back screen shows that intensity. This is similar to the line the marbles make. But when we add the second slit, something different happens. If the top of one way...
By the way, just some context here. They're watching this video from, I think it's called Dr. Quantum, right? And it's called the double slit experiment, where they're manipulating and testing out the different wave functions and the different looks that electrons give when they're sent through slits. Now, when they're sent through one slit, they act completely normal. Whenever they hit the board, whenever they're sent through this little thing right here, when there's one slit, they act as a wave function, right? They're shown as waves. But then now they're putting two slits there, and this is where things get a little bit weird, okay? And once again, you're going to understand why I'm explaining this to you here in 1 second. I know a lot of you low IQ individuals have already left, but just wait, and I'm going to change your life, okay? Just wait.
Wave meets the bottom of another wave, they cancel each other out. So now, there is an interference pattern on the back wall. Places where the two tops meet are the highest intensity, the bright lines, and where they cancel, there is nothing. So, when we throw things, that is, matter, through two slits, we get this, two bands of hits. And with waves, we get an interference pattern of many bands. Good so far. Now, let's go quantum.
Okay, now you're gonna freak out.
Okay.
This is where you start getting mad. They're going quantum.
Going quantum, I know.
Is a tiny, tiny bit of matter.
Ooh.
Like a tiny marble. Let's fire a stream.
He gets already shaking his head, folks.
It's not a tiny marble.
We gotta do a little bit of commentary on it. We can't just play the whole video.
Right.
Okay, I can do I know exactly what they're talking about.
Okay.
It's a very famous experiment. So, yeah, so if you have two slits that you let marbles go through, they get two slits in the receiving screen on the other side.
Right.
Whereas if you let a wave go through two slits, you get this interference pattern.
Right.
And so what happens when you let an electron go through? The answer is you get an interference pattern. It's more like a wave than a particle. But the real weird thing that they're going to get to eventually is if you let an electron go through two slits, but you put little detectors on the slits. So you say which slit did the electron go through? Then it always says it goes through one or the other. It never goes through both. And the interference pattern on the other side disappears. You only see the two lines that you would have seen if they were marble-like. So the point is, when you're not looking, the electron is acting like a wave, And when you look at it, the electron acts like a particle.
Right.
Do you guys understand how crazy that is, what he just said? When they're sending these particles through the slits and they're not observing it, it acts as a wave. And when you do observe it, it acts as a particle. That's massive. You know, that's literally a video game, how a video game operates. In Minecraft, let's say you're playing Minecraft, the chunks don't render off in the distance far enough until you get there, until you see that thing. So our world is behaving literally on a quantum level. The particles of our world are behaving like a video game. Okay. But it's not even, it's going to get crazier here in a second. I keep bringing up the wrong screen.
That is the lesson of the double slit experiment.
Right. Why?
Why? Because when you put that detector on the slits, you interacted with the electron and you localized it, right? There was no such thing as the position of the electron. There was no such thing as the answer to the question, did it go through one? Affected it when it looked through the slits to see, did it go through this one or this one? And that effect changed it from being going through both slits to being only going through one.
And how does it affect it like that?
Well, it's what's called quantum entanglement. The detector becomes entangled with the electron. And this is where you get into my favorite version of quantum mechanics, which is the many worlds interpretation. The right way to think about the electron was that cloud, that wave going through. That's the natural thing. The weird thing is that when you look at the different slits, you only see it go through one or the other, and it acts like a particle. So how do you explain that? So in other words, our natural intuitive way of thinking about electrons is as particles, little marbles, and quantum mechanics says, no, it's naturally a wave. The weird thing is when it acts like a particle. And if you're a many worlds person, what the answer you give is the following. When you look to see, did the electron go through one slit or the other, you, or whatever video camera you had or whatever, becomes entangled with the electron. And what that means is that the wave function of the whole universe, the wave function of both the electron, but also your camera and you and the stars and galaxies and so forth, splits in two. And there's now one branch of the wave function, which acts like its own separate world, which says the electron went through the left slit, and your camera saw it go through the left slit, and it made a little line on the other side. And there's another branch, which says the electron went through the right slit, and your camera saw it go through the right slit, and it makes a line on the other side. And so they're both still there, but the world's split in two, and now you're only in one of them. You don't see the whole world anymore.
You managed to make it more confusing. Congratulations.
It is kind of confusing, okay? But the good thing is we don't have to understand. We're not quantum physicists or scientists, and none of that stuff matters. As long as we understand the rules of the universe, we get to exist and operate inside of it and use this to improve at business, use this to grow our YouTube channels and get rich from the YouTube platform. How do I use this? And how have I been using this unknowingly until like the last year or so when I figured this stuff out? Basically, what this guy is saying is that the reason why the electrons are existing as both at the same time, and they're different whenever something is observing it. I believe that our world is operating like a video game where the chunks don't render unless we're seeing it, unless there's a reason for it to render. Okay. And so every time you observe the electron going through the slit, you're now interacting with the electron and you're entangling with it quantumly. And therefore, you have to see it go through one or the other. And as soon as you see it go through the left one or the right one, you split off from the previous universe where it would have gone through two. This means that every single, in theory, right, and this is what makes the most sense to me, that every single decision, every single action that we do, the fact that I'm recording this YouTube video right now at 12 a.m. versus 8 a.m. tomorrow, that choice that I made just split me off into a separate universe. And I know that sounds so woo-woo and so out there, but if you just look into this stuff, just go down a rabbit hole and study this, read books, this is what makes the most sense. The many worlds theory. This is why, if you go down a path of self-improvement, like I've always said this, I've always called it the tunnel, where when I'm just grinding my ass off, I'll randomly just like 6 months down the line, just pick my head up out the tunnel is what I call it. And I feel like a completely different person. I feel like the person capable of making whatever, 100K a month. Versus 6 months prior, I was only feeling like the person capable of making 50K a month. I feel like a new person now. That is because I am a new person now. Because over those 6 months, I've made choice after choice after choice, hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of choices every single day that split me off into new universes, that split me off into new versions of myself every single day. On a long enough time horizon with enough choices and enough splits, you genuinely become a new person. That's why I'm sure when you think of yourself when you were 12 years old, you probably feel like a new person from being 12. You probably feel pretty detached from that person when you were 12 because you are a new person. Your universe has split over and over and over and over and over again. And this is like, I know it sounds super woo-woo and out there, but I promise I've researched this a ton. This genuinely just feels like the truth. If you look at the facts, it just makes the most sense. Why else would we feel like new people? The point that I'm trying to make is every single decision that you make in your daily life matters so much more than you think it does. We talk about the law of momentum and how important momentum is. It's not just momentum like this mysterious force. What I believe is, and look, if none of this stuff is true, maybe it's not true, but it still works for me. And if you follow this, it's going to work for you as well. And obviously seems pretty damn true. Like, what's the other explanation, right? But we talk about the law of momentum and how important momentum is. And we just view it as this like ominous, mysterious force. Like momentum is so important in sports. It's so important in business and fitness and everything. But I think what momentum is you just splitting off into different versions of yourself. So if I make the choice today to stick to my diet and not cheat and go to the gym, well, I just split off into a higher version of myself. Somebody who is more likely to getting really good shape. Now, if I do that for months, I've split so many times in the positive direction that I now feel like the person who is capable of being in really good shape. I feel like a new person now. If I post a YouTube video every single day, and every single day I wake up and I have this crossroads where it's like, I don't want to record this video. I don't want to do it, but I choose to do it. That split moment right there, I just differed myself. There's one universe that split off where I didn't post the video and I got closer to being an absolute bum. And one universe split off where I did choose to post the video and I got closer to being a full-time YouTuber or somebody who's rich off YouTube. And if you do that same choice and you make choices like that throughout your entire day for years and years and years, you become a completely different person. And I hope this wasn't too woo-woo. Like I said, this was something that I wanted to test out and just see how you guys reacted to it. Because I know a lot of people, they can't handle stuff like this. You know, it is pretty nerdy stuff. But I feel like, I know for a fact that if you can retain this stuff and you can understand what I'm saying, this is life-changing stuff. When you view life like this, as every single choice matters. And look, I'm not saying that, you know, you're going to make a choice today to listen to a certain song on your phone and then randomly that's going to set off like a path of self-destruction. Like, I don't think you should stress about it that much. And even if you but if you listen to quantum scientists on these podcasts, they'll say that stuff like that, you don't really have that much control over. Right. And I don't want to get too nerdy, but you do have control over little choices that you make, such as, do I post a video today or do I procrastinate and wait until tomorrow? And if you choose the right one over and over again, you get closer and closer every single choice to becoming a better person, a better version of yourself. We've used these terms for so long, right? Like, I feel like a different person, I'm becoming a better version of myself, stuff like that. But we never really understand like what they mean. The reason why you feel like a different person. And look, you could be sitting here right now and feeling like a different person, but it could be in a negative way. Maybe 6 months ago, you were super motivated, in really good shape, posting videos every single day, and then you just got discouraged, and then you started spiraling. And every single day, you were like, I really just don't want to go to the gym, really just don't want to post a video. And you kept making those negative choices. You kept splitting off into the wrong universe over and over and over again. And you genuinely just become now the person who does procrastinate, who doesn't post the video every day, who doesn't go to the gym every day, who doesn't stick to their diet, who doesn't do all these things. You got two choices you can make, man. You're going to go through the right slit or the left slit. You got to make the choice. And you got to make the choice millions of times a day. If you make the right choices, it's not going to always be the right choice, obviously. You're going to mess up. But if on average you're making the right choice most of the time, you're going to end up being a different person in 6 months, and it's going to feel really good. It's going to be a really good version of yourself. So hopefully you guys were able to grasp this. Hopefully I was able to or make you understand this in the way that I do. I know I'm not a quantum physicist or a quantum scientist at all. So not that part really matters too much, but I wouldn't be able to break this down as much as that guy Sean Carroll on Joe Rogan's podcast could. But I understand it enough to where I know that every choice that I make every single day matters. So hopefully this made you understand how much this stuff matters. If you enjoy content like this, then maybe we could, if you let me know that you guys grasp this and you enjoy this type of stuff, this deeper stuff. It doesn't always have to be like quantum physics or, it doesn't have to be stuff like this every single time, but it could be just deeper conversations versus just like, oh, if you do this on your YouTube thumbnails, you get a higher click-through rate. It's like, okay, like how many times can I make a video like that? You know, it's like I can only teach you guys so much before it's like it's time to take action. It's time to start thinking a little bit deeper and becoming a better person. You know, there's only so many tactics that I can teach you and shortcuts that I can teach you before it's like we got to get to the real stuff. We got to solve the real problems. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. If you did, let me know. If not, let me know. And I won't do it anymore. And I'll just make surface level. Oh, do this on your YouTube. Put this arrow on your thumbnail and you get higher click-through rate. I'll make more of that stuff if you guys really want me to. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought. Hopefully this helped out. Peace.